Hi everybody, I'm going to do another sort of kind of ASMR slash soft-spoken video because I recently reorganized my Disney video collection. I could say VHS collection, but there's a Laserdisc right there of Bambi. I showed that in full detail in an old video from 2015. Longtime subscribers and people who've been watching my videos for a while will know why these particular titles are on the top of the big bookcase here. And the reason I wanted to film this was because I recently got another case down here and did some reorganizing to my collection. So, some of the things on here are what I consider to be the best of my collection and some of the most unique. Like, right here, that's a box set from 1986. It was the first box set put together for the Classics line. It was when the first 5 Classics titles were reissued in white clamshell cases with artwork that you could slide in and out. This was all, of course, to promote the first ever video release of Sleeping Beauty right there. I'm going to pull it out a little bit. As you can see, there's all this artwork all throughout the box. I do think the box set from 87 has better artwork because it's lifted directly from the video covers themselves. This one I don't think is as impressive, but I do like the Classics diamond on the top there. So to the far left we have the UK VHS of The Jungle Book. This is my only UK Disney VHS tape. We have the French VHS of Lady and the Tramp. It's La Belle et le Clochard. I hope I pronounced that right. A couple of Japanese VHS releases here, such as the Japanese language edition of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, a bilingual VHS of 101 Dalmatians, and the English language Japanese subtitles VHS of Aladdin. Lady and the Tramp again, but this time in Italiano. Lily e il Vagabondo. As you can see, the Italians kind of had a Classics line of their own. These are the first ever sale-only releases of Dumbo and Alice in Wonderland, both from 1982. This was during the period where Walt Disney Home Video used this design scheme for their covers. An Epcot Souvenir tape, originally released in 1983, a year after Epcot Center first opened. This is a later pressing from 1986, and it's in one of those cases where you could slide out the artwork. And of course, just to briefly show you, this is what the 85 cover of Pinocchio looks like, but of course this is the 86 reissue. Dumbo's, actually what I have to do is I have to take this out because there's like a little thing in there that prevents me from pushing the Pinocchio VHS tape. It'll rip up that part of the box. So I'll take out Dumbo. Dumbo was originally released in the Classics line in 1985. Let me just put this back in. Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. And then Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland debuted in the Classics line. So you can really get out of my way. So I want to show the covers just in case anybody watching this has never seen these vintage releases before. Sword in the Stone. Wait, did I show Sleeping Beauty? I'll show it again just in case. Yeah, sometimes the cases pull each other along. He gets sword out again, so we could just take Robin Hood out. I've done full videos of my collections in the past. In fact, I unlisted several of them a while ago. It's an old shame. I just don't like the way I sound in those, and I have like outdated views. I sort of reviewed the films while I was talking about them, and a lot of my views on Disney's animated films and most Disney films in general, and just film in general, has changed over the years. I mean, I uploaded those videos all the way back in 2010 and 2011. So, now that the box set is out of the way, we have demo tapes. These were made specifically for employees and staff of video stores. This Pinocchio one for the 1985 release of the film on video is not the full film, but it's a bunch of like promo stuff, a sort of detailing of how the advertising campaign was going to be laid out that summer of 1985. And of course, it was never meant to be for sale. It was only meant for only people working at video stores got to use it. And then they got sent back to the company. But I guess some people who own these, they kind of slipped through the cracks, didn't give them back to Disney. Now, by contrast, this was for the 1993 video release of Pinocchio when it returned from the vault. This actually contains the full film. This was meant to be played on display TVs in video stores. When you walked around the video stores in the 90s, they'd have like at least one display TV, and this was the copy meant for that. And then they, again, like the one on the left, it had to be sent back to Disney once the movie was no longer in circulation. Same thing with this demo tape of The Rescuers. The demo tapes contain artwork and contents unique to that of the released ones. The released videos, released VHSs. And then some of them even have, I'll show you, Fox and the Hound, for example, some of them even have, like, stuff for the employees to look at, stats, and here's what's in store for you. This is how well this is going to sell. This is how much we're anticipating. And there's one for Little Mermaid as well. Sometimes they use the same exact covers as the released versions, although they do sport minor little differences, particularly the spine of the Little Mermaid demo tape. This is Pixar's resume tape. This is the first round of them from 1990, which Pixar would, I guess, take to investors and show them, hey, this is what we're made of, hire us. And then, starting in 1989, Pixar began making commercials. This was before they signed the feature film contract with Disney, which of course would lead to Toy Story, and the rest is history. This was also meant for the display TVs and video stores. It's a holiday 1992 in-store loop tape. It runs about 60 minutes long, so it runs about an hour long, and it's in a blank sleeve with that label on it. And it's just an hour of previews of what was available from Walt Disney Home Video during the holiday season of 1992. This is a demo tape. In 1991, around 92 and 93, I guess, some Disney demo tapes came in this red case, and they would have gold labels, and I just happened to have the one for The Jungle Book for its first ever video release. So next up in this bookcase are all the classics editions. Not all of them, because there are several variants of these video releases. Some of them are, well, here's the thing. To me, there's a difference between a variant and a second release. Like if you look at Dumbo here, this is the first video release of Dumbo from 1985. And then it got a new cover in 1989. So that's what this shelf basically is. There are no repeats because most of the variants, and I'll explain this later on in the video, most of the variants are, they have like minor differences. There's only one Classics edition that came in a cardboard slipcover case, and that was Alice in Wonderland for its first release in May of 1986. So I don't have to show you Pinocchio because I already showed you the one above. So this was the 93 release. This is the original release of Fantasia. Interestingly, Pinocchio and Fantasia don't bear the Classics logo anywhere on the packaging, although Pinocchio and Sorcerer Mickey's heads are in a rhombus, which was the Classics logo, of course, a rhombus diamond. But if you put the tapes in, they open with the Classics logo, and this Pinocchio demo tape from 92 has the Classics logo on it. So to me, that indicates that these were going to be full-blown Classics releases, but at last minute, Walt Disney Home Video staff decided that they were too special, and they're just like, well, let's just say Walt Disney's Masterpiece. And this was a few years before the Walt Disney Masterpiece collection was a thing. Bambi, only one release in the Classics line, which was in 1989. So, and then we got the original release of Cinderella here from 1988. I'm actually filming this over the course of a few nights, so there might be some jumps and edits here and there. This is the original Classics release of Alice in Wonderland. It came in a cardboard slipcover case. It's the only Classics edition to come in such a casing. This is a very strange bookcase in that these sort of pillars are in the way. Peter Pan, the original release from 1990. There were some Classics editions that had reissues, as you've seen earlier. Lady and the Tramp. This VHS came out in 1987. Some of these are, some of the plastic is super shiny and you can't really see everything. And Sleeping Beauty again, but we already saw Sleeping Beauty. 101 Dalmatians. 1992 VHS. Of course, the 1986 Sword in the Stone VHS, but it's in a white case with non-removable artwork. I don't have the black one on VHS. If I ever find it for a fair price one day, I'll definitely add it, but this one will do for now. Actually, for a brief while in 86, like early 86, black clamshell ones like Pinocchio and Dumbo were in white cases with the same non-removable artwork sort of scheme. I don't know if that's the right word. Not in hot condition there, but this is the 1989 Sword in the Stone cover. And moving on, actually, let me do this first. And then we got the 1991 VHS of The Jungle Book. You'll notice that the cover, if you're younger and you've never seen this cover before and you were the right age, you'll notice that they use the same cover artwork for the Walt Disney Masterpiece Collection. Same with the Sword in the Stone. And then we got the original release of Robin Hood, the first Classics title, which came out in 1984. Let me just put these back before I move on. And then the 1991 re-release of Robin Hood. It has the same scenario going on the cover, but it's drawn in a style that's closer to the movie itself. Although, and I recently did a Twitter thread on this, but like, if you compare and contrast here, it's like the mid-'80s Classics editions had like almost like a fine art-like approach to the characters and settings. Like, this is almost realistic in a way, very detailed. Whereas this, it's more akin to the movie itself. It's more cartoony looking. And it's brighter, it's glossier, too. I think that's what made them stick out to me when I first saw these covers. It's almost like, again, like a fine art, almost. Rescuers VHS from 1992. The cover is kind of significantly different from, even though it's very, very similar, it's also very different from the demo VHS cover, which itself was taken from the 1989 theatrical re-release poster. The Fox and the Hound, coincidentally, was the last title in the Classics line in 1994. It starts with a fox, ends with a fox. The Great Mouse Detective. This was the 1992 VHS release. Actually, I guess we're going to do the last two on this shelf. The original 1990 video release of The Little Mermaid, and the original release of The Rescuers Down Under from 1991. So yeah, both Rescuers movies were in the Classics line, but only the first Rescuers was in the Walt Disney Masterpiece Collection. Although Rescuers Down Under was almost a Masterpiece release. Alright, so starting with this shelf, I put titles on top just to make room. And they fit up there very nicely. So that way this isn't, crammed all the way to the end. So the end of the Classics line now, as you may have noticed, these are in the order in which the movies themselves first came out. So, of course, Pinocchio, 1940, all the way up till Aladdin in 1992, which means that the Classics release of Aladdin was one of the last Classics releases ever. It's the second to last, actually, the last being Fox and the Hound, of course, as I just said. So Beauty and the Beast from 1992, and it's not worth $1,000, folks. Silly rumors, and they spread like wildfire, don't they? And Aladdin, 1993 VHS. And then after the classics, I put a couple of, I have a couple of Cartoon Classics tapes. This is from the first wave of Cartoon Classics. It's Scary Tales, which is Volume 3, although this is a later pressing. It's from '86. The original release was from '83. There's an original mid-'80s release here. This is more of Disney's best, 1932 to 1946. Unlike the '86 reprinting of Scary Tales over there, the artwork is unremovable. And my only limited gold edition on VHS, this is from the limited gold edition 2 wave of Cartoon Classics. It's an officer and a duck, all military-themed Donald Duck cartoons from the early 40s, World War II era. I was considering doing an IMAX Nation's Video Corner episode on that way back in the day, though. I don't know if it'll ever come to fruition, but it was a consideration. I was going to do a video with my K9 Commando VHS, kind of like a Army World War II theme going there. And now we get to what I like to call general release titles. The ones you're about to see are from the early 80s, and these, of course, would be the sale-only versions, because back in those days, Walt Disney Home Video would release 2 separate versions of these films. There would be the sale-only versions, and I'll show you the back just to emphasize that. It would say... Okay, it's not on the back of this, is it? Maybe because this is a later release. I'll show you an example it should be this Pollyanna VHS right here. So, as you can see, there's this little thing here that says, for sale only, not intended for rental. And back in those days, Disney would release a rental-only version, which came in a blue case with no artwork on it, just a sticker label saying the name of the movie and such. And then the sale-only version would come in a nice case like that, a clamshell, and it would have artwork and stuff on the back and everything. I almost got my hands on the rental-only version of Dumbo from 1981. That would probably be my holy grail if I ever got it, but I lost the bid at last minute, I think. But if one ever floats along at a fair price, you bet I'll get it. So this is the first ever release of Fun and Fancy Free. As you can see, Mickey and the Beanstalk is in big bold letters. You would think that you were picking up a VHS of Mickey and the Beanstalk and not Fun and Fancy Free itself. I think that's kind of funny. Disney apparently forgot that Fun and Fancy Free came to VHS in 1982, because when it came back to VHS in 1997 in the Masterpiece Collection, they marketed it as the first ever video release of the movie. Like, this is the first time it's come to video. It's like, no, it wasn't. Davy Crockett and the River Pirates, of course, the prequel to Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. This is actually, even though it's in a sale-only case, the tape inside is the rental-only tape. Now, Disney would take back the rental-only versions, including the covers and the tapes, but if some of them were still in good quality, they'd put them in a sale case and re-release them as sale tapes. I have some beta tapes that actually have a label confirming that. And I'm definitely going to show those later on in the video. We got Kidnapped. I believe this is the 1983 VHS release of Kidnapped. Of course, in the early days of Walt Disney Home Video, the company only opted to put the live-action movies, a select few animated features, and cartoon compilations on video. And let's have a look at the Pollyanna front cover. So, and because Disney made a ton of live-action movies, they would make like maybe 3, 4, or 5 every calendar year. You know, it was sort of the bottom line building stuff. Because, you know, every other aspect, because, you know, animation's expensive and, you know, theme parks and whatnot. So these were You know, there were a ton of these, and that's the original Parent Trap, of course, with Haley Mills. I think most people my age would be more familiar with the remake with Lindsay Lohan, though. Prince and the Pauper. This was a two-part special. See, on the wonderful on Walt Disney's anthology program, which went through several name changes, you know, Disneyland, Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color, Wonderful World of Disney, etc., 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 they would air these sort of two-part movies, and the first part would air, and then the next night or the next week, the other part would air. Sometimes those programs were edited together to form a full-length feature, and they would be released overseas theatrically, like they did it with this Prince and the Pauper film from 1962. They also did it with My Dog the Thief. I believe they did it with Smoke and a couple of others. But yeah, these would be aired as two-part events here in the States in the 60s and into the 70s. Interestingly, Disney Plus has this on there, and it's theatrical. It's the theatrical print that got sent to Europe. That darn cat. Another Haley Mills Disney comedy from the 60s. Another Haley Mills Disney film that got remade in the 90s, much like The Parent Trap. Boatniks, kind of an attempt at a screwball comedy. Escape to Witch Mountain. This is a former rental, and you can tell because the cover artwork it's faded. Obviously, it was sitting on a rack ever since 1980, and it was just like facing the sun for decades before that rental store in question sold all their VHS tapes when they all went out of business. That was around 2006 and 2007. Anyways, Pollyanna Vhs is from 81. Parent Trap 85, Prince and the Pauper 85, That Darn Cat 85. Actually, you'll notice that on some releases, home video is in this Epcot Center looking font, and home video on these releases is in a more bubbly font. And Disney started using that more bubbly font in late 1984 and into spring of 1985. So with that, you'll be able to tell when your release is from. Gus, kind of a archetypal Disney screwball animal comedy. I actually find this one to be, I don't like the term guilty pleasure, but I kind of enjoy it, even though it probably bears all the worst qualities of 70s Disney live-action movies. Last Flight of Noah's Ark. The Gus VHS is from 85, and this is from 83. Last Flight of Noah's Ark is a film that came out in 1980. Winnie the Pooh and Friends, a compilation collection there, featuring Winnie the Pooh and A Day for Eeyore, which was the then newest featurette in the Winnie the Pooh series, and 3 cartoons about bears, 2 of which have Humphrey in them, Humphrey the Bear. Gone Are the Days is a Disney Channel original movie, albeit from 1984. Yep, it stars Harvey Korman, of all people. It's one of the first Disney Channel original movies. I believe Tiger Town was the first in 83. Gone Are the Days, I believe, was the second. And on the back, and you can tell that this was a original, this is made for video. There's an asterisk there, so on the back cover, originally produced for Walt Disney Home Video cassettes and discs and the Disney Channel, so it was simultaneously made for the Disney Channel and for home video. So these were low-budget movies that would be, that would be kind of like a selling point for the Disney Channel back in the day. The Disney Channel launched in 1983. It's similar to how Disney Plus has its own original movies. And now we're kind of moving out of the giant sorcerer Mickey takes up half of the box. Now we're in this territory where the spine is still kind of the same, but there's full cover artwork. This is the 1984 release of Mickey's Christmas Carol, and it even has a featurette at the end, as I went over in one of my recent videos. And here is a volume of Disney's DTV series. This is the Pop and Rock volume. This is also from 1984. For those who don't know, on the Disney Channel during the commercial breaks, and this would also be kind of like filler, they would take songs, both contemporary and classic, and edit Disney footage from Disney animated films, cartoons, and even some of the live-action films to, like, basically almost like inventing the modern AMV in a way, which I think is really, really neat. And a lot of the edit jobs are actually really, really, like, successful. Like, they mix up quite well. And it kind of, that format kind of lived on in the form of things like Remix, I believe it was. Now, before I show you this VHS of Return from Witch Mountain, I want to show you what's up here. So, Tex has a similar spine layout to what you see here, though there is no yellow and red, like, banner there. And an image takes up the entire front cover. This is because Tex was one of the first Disney films to get what was then a coveted PG rating. Now, for people who don't know, back in the early 80s, if your movie got a PG rating, that meant it was the middle between a G-rated movie and an R-rated movie. The PG-13 rating had not yet been created, and because Disney was kind of stigmatized as a kids-only thing, and at best a family-friendly brand, when Disney tried to move into making PG-rated movies like Tex, it was a bit of a dilemma for them, because back in the early 80s, no so-called self-respecting person over the age of 12 would want to be caught dead. And I'm sort of repeating somebody else's words here, but they wouldn't have wanted to have been caught dead next to a Disney film or anything with a Disney name on it. So in films like Tron, Tex, and Something Wicked This Way Comes, and Trenchcoat, as you see there, they would hide the name on the posters. And they would, even on the video covers, they'd hide the Disney name, but on the side it's there, and on the back it's there, and when you open up the case, Sorcerer Mickey is on the label. But yeah, that's the whole deal with Tex here, and it's the same with the Tron VHS from 1983. This Tex VHS is also from 83, and it's also the same with the Something Wicked This Way Comes VHS and the Never Cry Wolf VHS. Then we got Trenchcoat, which was another one of Disney's early attempts at a PG movie. This was like right before they formed Touchstone as a way to release more adult-oriented films without having the Disney name on it. And Trenchcoat is unique in that the Disney name is nowhere to be seen on the cover. It's only on the videotape label. Not even on the back. Like, it's everything, even the copyrights, it's like changed to Buena Vista. Like, they didn't want you to know that this was a Disney film. I wish I could tell you if it lives up to that, because the tape inside is actually broken and I've never been able to fix it, because it's one of those old 80s video cassettes where the shell is like, the bolt on it, it's like they don't make those kind of drill heads anymore. It's like it's embedded in there, and you have to like work overtime, like you have to crowbar that thing open. I had to do that with this Cartoon Classics VHS here, More of Disney's Best, and it was kind of a semi-traumatic experience, and I don't want to have to go through that again. I literally had to use like a screwdriver and something else to just pry that thing open. I've had this Trenchcoat VHS since 2007, and I just haven't done anything with it, but maybe one day when I'm feeling up to it, I'll break it open. Or Disney could just release the film on Disney Plus and call it a day. It's probably mild by, today's standards. But that just goes to show you how unsure Disney was about. And it also didn't help that, I'm devoting so much time to Trenchcoat here, it just also didn't help that Trenchcoat was not very well liked when it came out, and I think that was also part of it. Disney also treated a film called Midnight Madness similarly. Like, they would have the Disney name on something like Tex, but not something like Trenchcoat or Midnight Madness, so it's kind of pick and choose in a weird way. And then lastly, we have a Disney Christmas Gift, which was originally released in 1984 for Disney's Wrapped and Ready to Give Christmas promotion, and it's just sort of a clip show of various Disney films, and many of which were not available on video at the time. So it's like if you wanted to see scenes from those classic Disney films and the film wasn't playing in theaters during a re-release, well, that was your best bet. And then to top things off, Walt Disney Home Video, starting in 1985, changed the layout of their front covers for their general releases. And thus the image from the film would take up more of the box, and Mickey and the Walt Disney Home Video logo would be minimized. This format works better, though, I think. And that's the VHS of Return from Witch Mountain, which came out in 1986. And then I have another one that's like that. This is the Tron VHS from 1985. Now you see Tron, they're okay with giving it this cover in 85. The previous cover didn't have the Disney name on it at all, much like the Tex cover. But you didn't see Tex or Trenchcoat or Something Wicked This Way Come get this kind of reissue. And then we have one Touchstone clamshell VHS here, and this is Country, which was Touchstone's second ever feature, the first being Splash. And of course, come in a clamshell, and couldn't remove the artwork. This is from 85, because the movie came out in fall 1984 in theaters. Yeah, very similar. But just Touchstone. Of course, Disney created the Touchstone label for movies that weren't G-rated, and films that, you know, definitely skewed a more adults-only audience than a family audience. And it worked out wonderfully because Splash was a hit, and one of their biggest hits in a long while. And then we got the Walt Disney Comedy and Magic Review, which is another clip show-like affair, much like the Disney Christmas Gift VHS. This was a special title that you got during Disney's Making Your Dreams Come True Christmas promotion of 1985. If you bought one full-price title, I believe it was one full-price title, you would get this for $9.95. So it was like a nice little bonus, and it features scenes from both live-action classics and animated classics and short cartoons. Return to Oz is strangely prominent on the front cover and prominently featured on the program. And then lastly, in terms of these 85, 86 general releases, we have Treasure Island. So before Treasure Island's 1992 video, or was it 91? It was 92, 91, 92 video release. All the video releases of Treasure Island contained the cut version of the movie. Going back to the whole PG thing, when Disney was readying Treasure Island for re-release in 1975, the MPAA gave it a PG rating for the swashbuckling violence, so Disney edited the film to get a G rating. And that's the version you see on all the VHS releases of the movie until the Walt Disney Studio Film Collection release in the early 90s. Although, strangely, my copy, they plastered a PG sticker over the G rating. But this is the cut version of the movie. You can also tell because it runs 87 minutes long. The uncut version runs 96 minutes long. But yeah, this is from 86.